All right, we're live. Okay. Today I've heard about ChatGPT, of course, like everybody in this world has. But in the last couple days I've been trying out a little bit more and a little bit more, and I was curious today. Um I want to know like the extent to which ChatGPT could write a poem about anything, not just like a casual, random, like basic blah poem, but something that's very specific and and something that brought about emotion and I was absolutely really blown away by this thing. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I will ever. I mean, I probably will write poetry by myself, but like to do the same poem in the same subject and ask GPT to write it, and then kind of compare my poem with ChatGPT's poem. It's just a crazy world that we're living in. Anyway, I wanted to. Oh wait, can I get this out of here? Here we go. Anyway, I had it written down. I was gonna write it down. I'm not sure if I can. It pauses. I didn't know. I didn't realize that YouTube pauses when you go out of the page when you're doing a live feed. So I'm gonna have to start this video again, and I'm gonna share with you the results of I think about four or five poems, where I put in the parameters and ask ChatGPT to write a poem, and it's not perfect. It's not like the best poetry in the world, but it's actually pretty astonishing for what it can do. So anyway, I'm gonna pause this for now, and then I'll get the information on another device so I can actually read it to you. Okay. Anyway, last night I was reading the book of Daniel. It's one of my favorite books in the Bible, and I was reading about Nebuchadnezzar and the amazing dreams that he had, and how he, lost his mind and went out to the fields and started grazing like an ox because God was showing him that he was too proud and that he didn't recognize God as the one that controlled things here on this earth, and kind of like raised up leaders and brought down leaders and brought destruction and lifted nations up and brought them down when they got too proudful. But as I was reading, it's just such an interesting story, and so when I was looking at ChatGPT today, I was just like, I would be curious to see what kind of a poem ChatGPT could write about the exchange between Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel, and the whole episode of him having the dream and Daniel interpreting it and stuff like that. So, this is what I wrote to ChatGPT about Nebuchadnezzar. I said, write a poem about a. No, wait, that's not it. Wrong one. Hold on 1 second. I thought I had it. Okay. So it's okay. Write me a poem about the story of Nebuchadnezzar's dream of him losing his mind and eating grass like the ox, along with the prophet Daniel's revelation and interpretation of the dream. Now, I don't think I could have done a better job myself, actually. I mean, I love poetry, and I just really love what the results that ChatGPT gave me. So I'll just read it as a poem. So, in Babylon's land of ancient lore, King Nebuchadnezzar dreamed once more a vision of a great statue tall, with feet of iron, head of gold. But as he dreamed, a terror came, for his mind was twisted and insane. And like an ox, he ate the grass. In madness, he did wildly thrash. His courtiers were filled with dread. What ill fate had befallen their head? But in the prophet Daniel's care, the king found hope. The end was near. For Daniel heard the dream and knew the interpretation that was true. That Babylon's king, though great and grand, was but a tool in God's own hand. And as the king did graze in Rome, he came to realize and to know God alone could hold the reins and set right what was once profaned. So in the end, King Nebuchadnezzar gave praise to God, his mind no longer a blur, and through the prophet's revelation, he saw the truth, a new creation. I'm like, wow. It tells you what happened. It makes it poetic. It's like it's pithy. It rhymes. It doesn't all rhyme, but most of it rhymes. And I don't know. I think it's amazing what ChatGPT can do. Um, so I decided to do another one on COVID. It's been a couple of years since we've the beginning of COVID, and so many people have struggled with the lockdowns and wearing the masks and all that stuff. So I was curious to see what ChatGPT would come up with in regards to the COVID lockdown. So I said, write me a poem describing the frustrations surrounding the several year COVID lockdown, both in China as well as the United States, from the perspective of a young student. And that's done. It's amazing. Like you can tell it what to do, and then you can give it a perspective, like from the perspective of an old man, or from the perspective. I'd be curious to see like what would happen if you said from the perspective of a dog that's has they can't go out and walk very much, or at least like a dog in China. They couldn't take their dogs outside because of the lockdown. But it'd be interesting. It'd be kind of like I think there was a book once that was about like life from the view of a mosquito or a fly or something. I might try that out too. Like, and another thing before I share the poem, um, I asked ChatGPT. I said, no, if I were to ask you to write a poem, and then I asked you again after you wrote that poem, the same exact questions with the same parameters, the same details, and everything. I said, would you write the exact same poem? And he said, try me. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say that. He actually said that each time that he gets the information, because of the algorithms and the phrases are always changing, the words that they use are different. And plus, you can also modify it. Like you can always like take the after they write a poem, and you can um, say, can you do this second phrase and make it like more pithy, or use longer words, or make every third word rhyme. I don't know, like how advanced can this thing get? I'm like, geez, this is crazy. So anyway, this will be an interesting little poem to see what ChatGPT writes about the COVID pandemic for a young student. So here we go. Locked away locked away behind four walls, no escape from these empty halls. Days and weeks and months have flown, but the end is still unknown. COVID came and took control, changing lives and taking tolls. In China, in the US, the world reeled in great distress. For a young student, hopes were high, for learning, growth, and friendships nigh. But now it seems a distant dream, a world obscured, a distant scheme. Online classes, Zoom fatigue. Endless screens, no in-person league. Friends reduced to tiny squares, a world that's stripped of all its fares. And yet there's hope that lingers still. In vaccines, in science's will, in people's care and empathy that will break free from this misery. For every student, young and old, may we persevere, be brave and bold. For though the end is long and tough, we'll find a way together, rough. That's really neat. Um, I don't necessarily agree with the vaccine part because, um, I mean, I think vaccines were necessary, like a necessary evil of the pandemic. Like we needed the government to do something, and that was the only thing they could have done to instill hope in people. But at the same time, there were a lot of things that weren't that great about the vaccines, the way they were, especially like I don't know, the way it's presented as being this cure-all thing, when really there's a lot of um, issues surrounding them with people getting various side effects. There are actually a few sudden deaths from the Rosette vaccines, from what I understand, from what I've heard, but I'm not certain about that. So then, so yeah, and let's see. My dad wanted me to ask ChatGPT about if the vaccines could cause sudden death, and of course they said that it doesn't because they were kind of like that's kind of how the, the scientists view the scientists' pers- take on COVID-19. But um, so the next poem that I wrote, or the ChatGPT wrote, I asked it to write me a poem about a young boy who is constantly picked on emotionally and physically at school, and how he learns to overcome his tormentors. So that was something that I'd experienced. 'Cause I had bullies as a kid, and I used to fight them in my dreams. My dreams would just fly away from them. But um, I wanted to see what ChatGPT would say about being a bullied school child. So this is the poem that ChatGPT came up with. The young boy walks alone to school, his head held low, his heart a tool for bullies who seek to tear him down, to make him feel like he will drown. They mock his clothes, they taunt his name, they steal his books, they spread their shame. They push and shove, they break his pride, they hurt him deep, and he can't hide. But in the darkness of his pain, he finds a strength he can't explain. A flicker of a brighter flame, a voice that whispers, not in vain. He learns to stand, to face his fears, to wipe away his bitter tears, to find his voice, to speak his mind, to leave the bullies far behind. He seeks out friends, he builds his tribe. He finds his worth, he comes alive. He stands up tall, he finds his stride. He knows that he can thrive. The young boy learns to overcome, to shine his light, to find his home, to be himself, to be his own, to rise above the things unknown. I like that one. Um, and I was curious when I was writing these poems, or when ChatGPT was writing these poems, I was like, would I be able to use this as a commercial product? Like if I wanted to sell a poem or put together a book of poems or write a song or whatever, would you would you own the copyright since you created it? And ChatGPT told me that they don't copyright the information. Like, the information that comes out of the question that you give them is actually in the public domain, which I think is really cool because it's like free information. Like, and you can share it with other people, and you don't never have to worry about any copyright issues. So, and then let's see here. I think I have, yes, I have one more. No, I have two more poems. Okay, so the next one I thought would be interesting would be um, mission. Of course, mission to Mars is certainly something that a lot of people in the world um, consider a possibility within our lifetime. Very, very much like a possibility. And Elon Musk is always talking about it. And so I asked ChatGPT to write me an exciting, pithy poem about a crew of four people, two men, two women who board Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket and successfully complete the first manned mission to Mars in 2045. And so this is their response. Four brave souls with the mission in mind, two men, two women on a journey to find a new world, a new home beyond Earth's bounds, with hope and courage their spirits unbound. They board the rocket, SpaceX's great feat, Elon Musk's vision now set to complete. Their eyes on the prize, the red planet afar, a mission to Mars, a journey bizarre. The engines roar, the flames ignite. The rocket ascends into the endless night. The stars are their guide, the universe their stage. a cosmic adventure, an epic new page. Through asteroids and comets, they venture on to a new frontier where they belong, a harsh new world where nothing is known, a land of discovery where they will be shown. Their journey complete, they land on the sand, a new beginning on an alien land. With bravery and spirit, they plant a flag. The first man mission, a new human saga, actually. They explore and discover their passion ablaze, a new world to conquer, their legacy to raise. With hope and determination, they lead the way. A new dawn on Mars on this historic day. I can just imagine that day that we do eventually make it to Mars. People will write songs about it, you know. At that point, hopefully people are still doing original stuff by that time and not just relying on ChatGPT for everything. They're to think for them, to write for them, to write music for them, all that stuff, you know. There is a danger, like there's a slight danger of becoming completely reliant on a technology like this and losing the ability to think original thoughts and like as we use the internet. I mean, when you use the internet for information, like a lot of people, like me included, probably, yeah, is I just research is hard. Like when you're going to the library and you're checking out all these books and you're turning pages and you're underlining and you're taking notes and you're doing the information, and you're writing down you're documenting your data and stuff. It was so tedious and time consuming, and now Google's got it all on the internet. So like I would never do a research project going to the library and writing. If I ever did get into something like research or whatever, and like history or whatever, I mean, maybe I would, because I mean, some people do like to go slow and peruse their through over a book and take time. But when you can just ask Google a question, you can compare and contrast, and you can look at an idea here and an idea there. I don't know. And future kids, like I guarantee there's a very high generation, a very high percentage of kids between now and the time they graduate high school that are going to use ChatGPT specifically for a term paper or for a paper in class, and the teacher's not going to be able to tell the difference. Like, I mean, if they can, like, lock the kids in like a room without technology and then with some books and read these books and give me a synopsis of what you find, and then like they compare that to a brilliant paper that they write, it's either plagiarism or ChatGPT. So it's going to be hard for people to know what's authentically coming from an. I think there's going to be a lot of issues with it. So technology, like there's benefits and there's cons, and the con that I see to ChatGPT the most is going to be that we're going to lose our ability to think and use logic to compare and contrast and to compare data, um, and to be original, like to write our own stuff. Like if we just rely on ChatGPT to do everything for us, we're going to be like those people in Wally, sitting watching those TVs or in VR, and we're just sitting there with our little drink and our fries and our burger, and we're just sitting in chairs getting universal basic income, and we're not contributing to anything to society. We're just using ChatGPT for all of our output. It's kind of a depressing thought when you think about it. So, but I'm sure some people will not be captured by it too much. And I still love, although I do like these poems. I mean, I still love writing my own stuff. Just for my own edification. If it's a poem or something, like, you know, and ChatGPT, like I said before, it's a different poem each time you input the data. So when you are writing your own poetry, you know, you might even like be inspired by something that you read. And unfortunately for me, I don't have perfect recall, so I probably forget a lot of the stuff from ChatGPT anyway, and start from scratch from the beginning with a new poem. Um, So this last poem really is something that I wanted to write about because um or that I wanted to see what ChatGPT would say about it because um it's pretty relevant to my life and probably to a lot of other people's lives. I don't know how many people out there struggle with you know, right moral purity, um having a moral compass. I've just noticed today it just seems like everybody's a liar, and it just I see so many ads on the internet where people are saying, "Oh, blah, 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 you're gonna make thousands of dollars by downloading this app. You're gonna make hundreds of dollars just by pressing buttons." And it's like I get bombarded with that so much. I don't know if you guys do. I must have clicked on the wrong button somewhere or clicked on some clickbait, and then now I'm getting so much spam. Like every ad that I get on Google, every single one of them, they're all scams. They're all scams, you know? Like BS, dude. You cannot make hundreds of dollars watching ads and videos online. Like I just signed up for this thing called WowTube after like playing it for like 3 hours. They said I won $500 PayPal gift card, and now I gave my PayPal information, and for like a month I've been waiting. A month. It's called WowTube. Don't ever download it. It's a joke. But I hope that they don't, somehow overcharge me or start taking money on my PayPal account without me knowing it. That would be very upsetting. But it really is. I mean, there's a few legitimate ones out there, like misplay, like some rewarded play. Some of the ones that promise you money for playing games or whatever. That some of those are legit. But the ones that are promising hundreds of dollars within, a few days or within like whatever. I mean, the ones that are legitimate are like you can make a few cents here and a few cents there, and it's like not even really worth your time unless like if you want to play video games for like 8 hours on your phone and play misplay or whatever, rewarded play or was it cash giraffe. I guess you can make maybe about $2 or $3 an hour, which if you're really hard up, that might be good money. But anyway, back to ChatGPT. I'm getting off topic here. So, so I wanted to see what ChatGPT like. It seems to have a pretty good grasp on spirituality. Like, and I don't know. It's just borrowing from knowledge that's in the domain, the spiritual, the internet domain, people's books or poems that people have written about spirituality. It seems to know quite a bit about the Bible. It seems to have a pretty good understanding of what it means to be like a human being struggling with certain things, struggling with things like lust or greed or the seven deadly sins, things like that. So I just this is going to be interesting to see what it says. So I'll read you my question here, and this will be my last poem of the night. But this is kind of cool. Like, I mean, I'd like to have like maybe my own poems. I should probably start by like writing a poem first before I put one in ChatGPT, talking about a certain subject, and then writing it out first, and because then like if I ask, I'll have the information in my head. So maybe like I should have like just to kind of see and compare what my poetry would look like um, versus my original poetry versus ChatGPT, and that might be interesting to do. Um, okay, so here's the question that I posed to ChatGPT. Write a poem about a young man struggling with his relationship with God. Explore his doubts, his fears, his faith, his tears, as he struggles to live a holy and righteous life in the modern world, with all of its hedonism, pride, lust, vanity, and greed. Here's the final poem of the night. A young man stands unsure and afraid. Constant tests in a world that challenges his quest. He sees the sins, the pride, the greed, the endless thirst for want and need, the lustful pleasures that tempt his soul. A silent night, his prayers unanswered, out of sight. He wonders if God hears his plea or if he's lost in eternity. But in his heart, a flame still burns, a yearning for love, a desire to learn, to follow the path that's true and right. With every struggle and every pain, his faith grows stronger, spirit sustained. He finds his way through the darkness and light with God by his side. He conquers the fight. His doubts and fears now fade away, his heart renewed with each passing day. He knows the road ahead is steep, but with God's love, he'll climb the peak. So let his doubts and fears be gone, for he is not alone in this journey long. With God's grace, he'll find his way to live a life that's holy and right today. Sorry, I have to quite close. Hope you don't feel uncomfortable with my face being too close to the video. Anyway, yeah, man, that's crazy. Like it's so good. It's crazy good. I could write a song about that, you know? But now, I just don't know how this is working. Like, how is he getting this information? Like, how does AI work? I mean, I guess I could, if I was a computer scientist, maybe I could answer that question a little bit more. But to take information and actually kind of understand like the semantic meaning behind it, where you can like interact and you can like play with the language and you can make it mean what you want it to mean. It almost seems like there's intention behind it. So, well, I've been on for 30 minutes or so. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast right now. But I encourage you, if you are at all interested in artificial intelligence and you're an artist, to just try it. You know, just if you like, just try it. You know, don't like become 100% dependent on it for everything, but it's kind of cool to try out. So, all right, peace out, guys. Have a good night. God bless. Ba-ba-ba.